Hi, everyone. We are sitting together on a lovely Thursday afternoon, talking about being rooted in purpose, how to find stability when everything feels shaky. Before we jump in, we have Clara here, but before we jump in, I always like to start by asking just a quick check in question like, how are we feeling today? We're always concerned about the to-do list and getting things done. So, put a one in the chat if you feel like you're living on a prayer, or a five in the chat if you're sitting on top of the world. Hopefully, my music fans got that one. How are you feeling, Clara?
I'm excited. I'm energized. The sun is outside. This is my favorite time of the year. So I love the heat. It just warms me up from head to toe. So I'm feeling really good right now. And being with you and with the viewers, it's pretty cool.
That's going to be awesome. Well, for the viewers, if you've ever felt like life looks successful on the outside, but shaky underneath, you're not alone. If you've ever hit a milestone or finished that never ending project, landed the promotion, or just frankly kept all the plates spinning and still felt disconnected, this is the space where we name those feelings and start to shift it. This is for you. Clara?
Yeah, there's a lot going on in the world today, right? There's a lot of chaos, there's a lot of uncertainty, certainly a lot of fear. And I hear from my clients, I hear from friends and family. It's an interesting time for us today, and I just want to invite people to like give themselves the gift of a pause during the day, to be here, to be present, to share, to hear, and to hopefully by the end leave with a couple of nuggets that will give them a little bit more of a sense of peace and calm. And the topic that we're going to talk today is purpose. So again, it's such a beautiful idea, but I would like to invite the guests to really think about how to personalize that sense of purpose and meaning.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up purpose and meaning because we actually met in an odd way. Clara and I met through just an unexpected but meaningful conversation. She happens to be neighbors with a former colleague of mine. And that simple link just led to so many deep conversations about identity, leadership, the intersection of ambition, alignment, and who we are to ourselves.
Yep.
And, even though our paths are different, Clara's path is and her work is rooted in mindset and purpose, and mine is in burnout recovery and confidence from a leadership lens. What we share is a commitment to helping other high achieving women come home to themselves.
Yep.
Um, so, Clara, you outlined some of today's goals earlier. Taking away some nuggets, exploring purpose beyond performance. I just want to kick off by talking a little bit about how I got where like how I ended up in like a burnout cycle. I was stuck in a trap of like external validation. And I know it sounds very high level, like what's external validation? But at the company that I worked for, there were a series of mergers and acquisitions, and somehow from so many people leaving and new people coming, I became the go-to person, and I was like the hero. When there was a new person, hey, go see Sophia. She can get that for you. Hey, you don't know how to do this, or you're having issues with that process, go to Sophia. And my identity, Clara, let me tell you, it was like a dopamine high. Like I felt like I was a superhero because I was saving people and helping people. I was the hero.
Yeah. It's a great feeling, definitely. You feel kind of on top of your game, you feel needed, you feel valuable. You
Yeah.
feel almost like your sense of worthiness comes from all of those accolades and from people needing you more and more and more.
Yeah, absolutely. And that actually became my oxygen because at the same time that was happening at work, I had just become a new mom.
Mm.
And babies, yes, you keep them alive, but they reward you with their cries. And sometimes that hurts your ego a little bit. And when you go to the office and people are actually using complete sentences and saying, you did a great job, you helped us do X, Y, and Z, it just really I don't know, it confuses us, right?
Yeah.
Especially because I was climbing in corporate, I was, getting promotions, which felt great.
Mhm.
And along the way, I started making little sacrifices like, oh, yeah, my kid can stay at daycare just a little longer. Let me work on this project. And it was really tough, I would say, because I just got so caught up in that. That became who I was.
Mhm.
Anytime I met someone new, it wasn't like, "Hey, how's your day?" It's, "Let me tell you about this awesome project I'm working on." I loved bragging about it.
Yeah.
Um,
Well,
if
and the interesting part about what you're saying, Sophia, is that we normalize it. That's what it's expected of us in the workplace from
yeah,
get-go, from the moment that you come in into a system, an organization, a company. That's what we hear from other women. So
yeah,
we completely are merged into that existing way of doing things, and the expectation is the more you do, the better you're going to be, and the more successful, and the more and the more and the more. And there's something interesting that we think about purpose
mhm,
as kind of that sense of applause and recognition is, the performance that we deliver. But purpose really is more fragile than that.
right.
True purpose is really steady, is center in your core values. It's an inner calling, and it doesn't depend on outcomes. It actually shapes them.
Mm, I like that. I like that. Say it again so I can. It doesn't shape them. Say it again. It doesn't depend on outcomes. Say it
It
again.
shapes them.
Okay.
So when you have clarity about your reason to exist, your inner calling, your purpose, which is it's something that comes from within, then that sense of purpose actually shapes the outcomes, because if you make decisions on that purpose, then the outcomes are going to be a result of that.
Got it. Yeah, yeah. Instead of being rooted in urgency or even people pleasing, which is so easy. But let me ask you, like, how do you find purpose in chaos? Like, how do you stay grounded in your purpose when there's chaos all around? When I think about my past job, I mean, there was like project, merger, deadline, ridiculous deadlines, the demands of being a new mom. There are all these things pulling at me. How do you find that? How do you stay grounded?
Well, thanks for naming that, because that's something that we all human beings go through, and it's very hard, and it becomes super foggy, right? And the one way back to purpose, it's really your values. So when there's storms out there, when there's chaos, you have to go inward. You have to create a space for you to stop, the running, the performing, the overdoing, the overpleasing. You need to create a sense of calm, a sense of almost a serene place where you can actually relax and think and go inward, because purpose is rooted in your values. So when you go back and remind yourself of what is important to you, what are some of the principles of your life that you live by, right? It
Mhm.
helps you refocus and reorient back to what matters back. It's almost like a bouncing
Mm,
effect. But you have to create this, you have to put a conscious stop on that running and that racing, and come back to the inner voice that you all have. But you have to create a space so that you can listen. And your values is the first step.
yeah, yeah. And when I think about that space and what that looks like, sometimes, at least with the clients that I work with, I have to caution people that the space looks different than what you expect it would, right? Sometimes we look for that space and, oh, I'm gonna go to yoga, or I'm gonna do Orange Theory or whatever, like these cycling classes. But sometimes the space is actually sitting still
Yep.
and like enjoying the quiet around you, and letting your thoughts roam, and like appreciating the textures around you. And by setting that space, you get to your center.
Yeah. The interesting thing about that, Sophia, is that think about what you were told and what you have been hearing all along about stillness. Stillness is lost time. When you are still, you think like, oh my God, what am I missing? What's wrong? Like, where am I not doing? And you have a fear of being still, because all your life you have been told that you have to keep going,
Yeah,
that you
yeah,
have to keep performing. So it's really a choice that you need to consciously make to facilitate the conditions so that you can go back to your values and connect back to the sense of meaning and purpose. And it's personal.
Yeah,
It's
yes. No,
personal.
yeah, you're absolutely right about that. It is personal. And sometimes rest is, it's hard to sit and rest and see that as being productive or
Yeah.
being good, right? Because I remember as a kid, my grandparents always taught me, you're sitting down, you could be folding clothes, you could be doing this, go do something. But
Yeah.
to your point, like the work, being still, being grounded, that's actually internal work that we're doing that helps us, that helps keep
and
us going.
and it this is pivotal, like,
Mhm.
coming back to purpose is essential, especially in chaotic times. And I would love, Sophia, to share a little story that is
Yeah.
inspired by someone that I've studied. His name is Viktor Frankl, and he's a Holocaust survivor, and he was a psychiatrist. Would you like me to share a
Yeah,
little about that?
yeah. I think everyone wants to hear this. Yeah.
That's great. So let's grab some popcorn and let's go to storytelling time. Um, so there's a quote that has guided me in this work, and Viktor Frankl says, "Those who have a why to live can bear with almost any how." And I'll tell you a little bit about this. He wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. I'm sure many of you have read it in college and things like that. I read it as an adult for the first time. He describes how purpose was not just a philosophical idea, kind of like a woo-woo thing, like an esoteric thing, but it was actually a lifeline. And despite the unimaginable suffering in the concentration, camps, and he was a prisoner, what he observed from the prisoners is that those who had a reason to live, whether it was the hope of seeing a loved one or finishing meaningful work or shaving every morning or simply choosing a dignifying way of the suffer, those were the ones that were more likely to survive. So finding that sense of meaning to them helped them literally survive the concentration camps. And he wrote about it in the book. He was a survivor, himself. And what he says is that he believed that the suffering that he went through was actually the sense of meaning that inspired him to help others heal in the process and afterwards when he wrote about it. He quote, "Life is never made unbearable by circumstances, but only by lack of meaning." And then he concludes, "Even in the darkest conditions, purpose offers light."
Mm.
So that to me has been so enlightening and such filled with hope. And we go back again to finding that purpose is a matter of choice.
No, no, you're absolutely right. Even for instance, like my goal coming out of college was, hey, get a good job, work that job, figure it out. And to your point, if I would have taken a step back and focused on my internal compass, what makes me happy, what gives me joy, what is my purpose, my Sophia's purpose, not what is the team deliverable or what are the company's core principles. If I would have just stayed true to myself and checked in with myself, just like I was consistent with my one-on-ones with my manager, having that one-on-one time with myself, quiet time, would have given me purpose to see through some of the nonsense, the noise, the chaos,
Yeah,
and stay grounded. I like
yeah,
that.
yeah, absolutely.
Well, Clara, let me ask you, like, how would someone differentiate between their values, like what they value, and what they've been conditioned to value?
Mm. Well, I mean, that's a big question, right? And sometimes the lines are very blurry, right? What we believe truth that comes from that inner space and what we are told, to be. I think it's really a point of discernment and a
Mhm.
point of going through, okay, what were the things that I was told when I was growing up? What were some of those beliefs that I knew they were kind of like absolute truths, and that I grew up with, either from caregivers or family members, and that became your compass to actually live the life and to have a representation of yourself, others, and the world around you. So there's some of those beliefs that are super awesome and helpful, and they serve you very well nowadays. But some of those beliefs and values are actually the things that today hinder you. So that's why it's so, so important to go back and understand things about your past, not to dwell in your past, but to seek understanding about how did they make you who you are today? And today, what are some of those beliefs that are serving you? And what are the ones that are not? I'll give you a quick example. Since I was very little, I had an alcoholic dad and a mom that was almost like kind of like the victim in the relationship. I was the oldest one, and since I was little, I knew, because that's what I heard from my parents, that I had to be the strong one, the perfect girl, the good girl, the one that followed the rules. I wouldn't rock the boat. I would follow directions. I was obeying. Whatever my dad said was the final say. And I learned to make that kind of one of my very good traits nowadays, which, it makes me driven, it makes me deliberate, it makes me intentional. But what I have now realized is that by not, for example, challenging authority figures, or by not speaking my mind and sharing, my voice, I'm hurting myself. So something that was helpful back then because it helped me survive my circumstances, nowadays it doesn't. So how do I go back to realize that, make the connections, start to unlearn that value of respect by not speaking, and how I can challenge that and choose something else?
Yeah.
Perhaps challenge authority figures, especially, men in leadership roles, with respect and with facts, and by preparing myself to do so. So
Yeah.
it's a little bit about going back in time, make discernment calls about what I've learned then is not serving me today, and how I can start little by little, challenging and reorienting to something different.
Yeah, and what I hear in that is we have to give ourselves permission to look back and rewire or redefine some of the things that have defined us thus far, right? Like for me, it was success is climbing the corporate ladder, right? Like promotion, promotion, promotion. But as I'm juggling a family, as I, you know, maybe a lateral move is okay,
Right.
because my purpose is rooted in something else. And to your point about giving yourself permission and rewiring and staying grounded and true to your purpose, when you're there, you could care less about naysayers. You could care less about what other people think or what they have to say, or even the optics, how things look around us. And I'm sure the audience would agree that that sometimes is the harder thing, right? The change and the pivot you want to make in your heart. You're actually walking that path, but listening to some of those conversations or the feedback that you're getting, it makes you question yourself. Um,
Absolutely. I love that last piece about questioning yourself, because when I was growing up, questioning was a no. You keep it quiet, you just keep the flow, you put whatever it's you're struggling with under the rug, and you just keep moving and smiling,
yeah,
right? Like there were
yeah,
some feelings that were no. Like you can't get angry at that. Be careful with getting sad. It's all about cheerful and keep going. And what you said is questioning is a beautiful thing. I mean, think about the value of curiosity. We had that value since we were little. What
hmm
do little ones do all the time? They
they ask
ask
why. Yeah,
why,
why.
and they don't stop until they are satisfied. And
Yeah,
to us adults now, that may be a little bit annoying. But what I'm saying is, what a beautiful invitation for us to go back to claiming that sense of curiosity that is inherent in part of us, and bring it to the here and now as adults.
yeah,
And
yeah.
suddenly questions allow you to not only seek understanding, but it helps you rehome your values as you questions the ones that you're following nowadays. So questions are a big yes.
Yeah, and a lot of people that I work with who experience burnout, they say, I'm just working too much, I'm doing too much. But I just to link on to what you said about questions, it's often we've been accepting a new normal for so long, we never question it. We just keep going. And because we don't question it, along the way, we start abandoning ourselves. We start
Um,
abandoning what's true to what we want or what we're purpose led to do because we feel like we have to. And it's like, is that really the goal of it all? It's not.
yeah. I want to put it a little bit in kind of extremes, but this image that I had a couple of years ago when I was doing an exercise was really, really important. Think about when you're in your last days. Think about when it comes to that moment where you're kind of done. And if you look back in your life, what are you going to think about yourself having chose to live a life of purpose, a life of meaning, not because somebody told you to, but because you chose it? And
Yeah.
the question is, are you going to regret not having taken the risk of doing it and questioning, right? And seeking and reinventing yourself in the here and now? Because at that point, it's going to be too late. So
Yeah.
why waiting for that wake up call then? And why not going into that awakening now?
Yeah. Yeah, and I like that analogy because many of us think that we have plenty of time. I'll do it later. Let me just get through this project. I'll do it later. Let me wait till this next promotion. I'll do it later. And it's like, no, later is now. Like when we feel discomfort regarding what we're doing and our heart and our gut and our soul, that tells us that it's time to pivot. It's time to change. It's time to move.
Yeah.
And often we're so accustomed to just suppressing or pushing down that voice because we feel like we have to follow what everyone else wants us to do, and that's really not the goal.
Yeah. Well, at the end of the end, who's the owner of your life? Who's the
Mhm.
owner of the career that you want to
Yeah,
pursue or what you want to let go of?
yeah.
It's you. This is about responsibility. This is about ownership.
Hmm.
And sometimes we wish that it was like taking a pill and, oh, boom, got it. No, this thing around purpose, this thing about breaking the cycle of burnout, it's work, but it's work that comes from your heart. It's not work that comes from your logic.
Yeah, and that's the hard part, right? Because everything around us is logic based.
Yeah.
1 plus 1 is 2, right? And sometimes when you're doing the heart work, the work on your heart, it takes effort, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it may not be as linear. Sometimes there's up roads and down roads, and it's not as linear or as simplistic as 1 plus 1 equals 2. So I like that
Oh,
you
it
pointed
can
that.
be messy, Sophia.
Yeah, the
So
messy middle.
And for some of us who grew up with those values about being organized, being perfect, you have to have everything A to Z before you like say something, right? No, has nothing to do with perfection. It has
Mm,
it has everything to do with following the flow and listen to your heart and be attuned to what your body is telling you to, because our body are beautiful design entities that have so much wisdom. The problem is that we don't stop to listen.
yeah, yeah. No, no, absolutely. And it's an unlearning um, that has to happen as we just continue on this journey and on this path. So just Clara, in your work and your experience, how do people rebuild through value based decisions or realigned based on values based decisions? Like how does someone go about doing that?
Yeah.
Because you say to yourself, okay, I know that I'm misaligned, but how do I do it?
Yeah. So I think the first step is awareness. And to get awareness, you need to get still,
Mm,
right? So with that awareness, then there's a choice. Okay, what am I going to do with this new piece of information that I have that is coming from here? And I think the second next step is really to go back to answer the question, what matters most to me in general? And usually these things have been with you since you were a little one, since you were a child. So
yeah,
I'll give you
yeah,
an example. For me, what I value the most is connection, service, creativity, and hope. And those are core values that are part of who I am now. And those values are the ones who help me make decisions that then shape the outcomes of my life and my career.
yeah.
Hence the reason why I am doing what I'm doing today. I am a purpose life career coach and leadership coach for a reason. And part of my purpose is to honor my name. My name is Clara Lucia, and in English, that means clear light. So my purpose is to be a ray of light wherever I go, even in this setting, in this kind of gathering today with you. Is my intent is that at the end of our time together, the people live with a little bit more hope and maybe one or two things that they can take away so that they can bring that hope with them wherever they go. So what matters most to you? That's a question that you and only you can answer. The second step is go back and think of those times where you have felt most alive, where you have felt most yourself, your true, real, authentic self. And generally, those moments could be connected back to your childhood experiences. Quick example, for me, it was riding my horse in my farm.
Oh, wow.
When when my parents were fighting, when my dad was drunk, when we had a ton of visitors that who knows who they even were, my escape was to ride that horse and feel the wind. And I have actually a picture on my phone to remind me of that moment.
Yeah, yeah.
Because that's when my soul was genuinely alive. That's when I felt free. And there was a sense of aliveness and energy. And I felt that I could do anything then. So what was that moment for you? Back in those days, was it painting? Was it going outside and collecting little things from nature? Was it, spending time, in the river, crossing the path of the river, or like splashing water? What was that moment for you?
Yeah, one moment for me that I remember vividly was roller skating, roller rink on a Saturday, live music, loved it, right? And now that is like my go-to. When I remember when I had unrealistic deadlines, my bosses weren't picking up on Slack, and I had to figure things out on my own, and I felt like I was alone on an island. I would just put on those skates and find a park and just skate
Beautiful.
outside, and that's honestly my jam right now. Like
That's
putting my headphones in and just feeling alive again. And in the process, I reprioritize and just recenter myself. So I love that recommendation because it's actually doable.
yeah.
It's something that really brings life to a
Yeah.
situation.
Beautiful example. And again, yeah, for the audience right now is, can you take a few seconds to think about that right now, right? Like don't leave it out for like later, because we
Oh,
don't know if
wow.
later will be here, right? So if you have a little, a little piece of paper or a napkin, just write it down. Whatever comes to mind. Don't overthink it. Again, this is not a logical work. This is work from your heart. And then the third step that I would say, Sophia, is the question about, and this comes to question to choice, right? So moving forward, knowing what matters most to me, knowing and feeling what are those things that make me feel alive again. How can you then, moving forward, align your daily choices
Yeah.
with those things?
Yeah.
So it's almost having a little bit of a filter that allows you to then understand and then choose the things that are going to be based on those important things that now are clear for you, and that will become almost like the energizer for you to move forward.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I use my example of skating, for me it's the freedom of it, right? Like you're on wheels, you're moving. I can remember hearing. Now when I skate, I put earbuds in, but it's just letting the music take you, right? It's the freedom in that. And to your point, that energizes me. Anytime I can step outside of my to-do list, and I welcome anyone to do it, to try it too. Anytime you step outside of your to-dos and find your recharge, it really just brings life, and it gives you a whole new set of perspective.
Yeah. And if you think about it, Sophia, sometimes even the small choices, those little things that you choose, is it maybe it's prioritizing integrity or generosity or a sense of curiosity or a sense of feeling alive through music. That's how you start building a purpose driven life, because it's you intentionally being present to what matters most to you and then choosing choosing the things that are based on that matters to you.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Especially with a lot of the women that I work with, who are experiencing burnout, you're just kind of like in the freeze. Things are uncomfortable, but you have no clue what to do. And guess what? You need something now. And I like this habit or this tip, this practice that you're explaining, because it's something that anyone can do right now to truly get a pivot, a refresher, an energy boost when you feel like the walls are caving in.
Yeah. Well, the other thing that I've noticed in this particular season in the world, and some of my clients have brought it up as kind of a trend, is because there's so much fear and uncertainty. There's kind of the protective way of your survival brain telling you, "Oh, you better don't do anything." So
Mm,
there's a sense that in inaction, meaning there's no action to take, will keep you safe. Well, inaction has a very high cost,
yeah.
because inaction will keep you in a place where you're just gonna settle, and you're gonna be almost like paralyzed when it's time to actually get going.
Yeah. Yeah.
So even the smallest movement will help you deal with what we're dealing right now. And again, this is about you choosing what matters most to you. That's why it's so important to reconnect back to that, because it's personal. It's not the news, it's not the latest development on whatever. There's not, it's you, it's your
Mm,
own truth that you're uncovering.
yeah. Yeah. And I like that you're saying for those who are stuck and frozen, I like that if we think about it as just one small move, you can do it. And often, for those who are stuck and are saying like that's too much to do, just try it. Just give this little thing a try, right? Like if you loved horseback riding or going back to my roller skating, like just go to the rink. Maybe you don't want to put on skates, you don't want to break a hip, you don't want to break a knee. Like we don't need replacements, okay? But maybe just going to the rink and watching other people skate around you can help you re-energize or find your purpose or just get those wheels moving. Like, hey,
Mhm.
I can take control of the situation. I can find my center again. I like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, Clara, were there any other takeaways? I feel like, man, we have covered a lot already. Any other takeaways you like the audience to have before we start winding down?
Um, you know, I recall, probably this was 5, 6 years ago. Um, Man, I had my own business at that point. I've had my business since 2014, before leaving corporate America, which, by the way, was the best decision I made. So I relate to your own story. But I remember it was kind of feeling a little too dark. I was very depleted. I was kind of losing excitement for what I was doing. Um, and it struck me like nobody else is going to do or to answer my question. I need to be the one answering it. I can ask for help, I can ask for support, but really this is the inner work that needs to happen in order to move forward. And sometimes you need to go a little backwards. You need to do a little bit of a regressing. And
Mm,
sometimes for us, regressing seems negative, but how are you going to move forward if you don't understand where you have been, and do a little bit of regressing in that trajectory so that you can understand it?
yeah,
So at that point, that's when I made a decision to really look at the eyes of performing and proving myself, and the need to overdo to find my worthiness. I looked at them in the eye and say, "You're not gonna be controlling my life anymore. You're not. Is it easy? No. Do I perfected the and do I have a mastery now in doing? No. But what I do know now is that I can very quickly know and feel when I am about to go into burnout mode, because I know some of the things that I tend to do, and I can choose quicker and recover quicker. So I don't think the goal is to necessarily overcome and be healed by it. I think
yeah,
the goal here is to start to understand how you get into that point where you can react, recover, and choose something different. So it's breaking through the cycle as opposed to being cured from it.
Yeah. Yeah, I like that you mentioned breaking through the cycle, because that's the thing about a cycle, like it will come back, right? Life's like life is life and all the time, right? But recognizing those signs, understanding the discomfort, that's why you talked a lot about um, just being quiet in yourself. Spending that time making the space, because then you start to recognize, hey, that twitch in my eye, that's a problem. Like,
Yeah.
I need to, what do I need to do to get out of this cycle right now? Do I need to get outside for fresh air? Do I need to actually eat? Have I eaten today? It's like recognizing those signs. And, often in the workshops that I host, I tell everyone that it's a practice. It's setting small habits that make it doable every day, right?
And the other part too is we don't have to do this work alone,
Mm,
because we have believed that unless you do it your own, it's not going to be either good enough, right? Or you're going to be seen as weak or fragile.
yeah,
If you are at work, see if there's someone that you can trust to be a little bit of an accountability partner, because sometimes we can't see ourselves. It's almost like when you take a can of soup, you can see the label if you're outside of the can, right? And you can read the label, but when you're inside of the can, you can't. So how can you enlist someone that it's for you,
yeah,
someone that you trust, to help you identify some of those behaviors that are taking you into the verge of burnout,
yeah,
and give that person the authority and the permission to give you a little signal? Hey, time out.
yeah.
I noticed that you're kind of like juggling a lot of things and you're eating at your desk. Why don't we just go outside 20 minutes and let's take a little breathing, fresh air, and let's like eat outside, especially now that it's summer.
Yeah, no,
You
I
don't
like
need
that.
to do it alone.
Yeah. I like that too, because often we try to just either we self-isolate when we're feeling like this, because we want to try to figure it out on our own, or we go to the normal people. And guess what? Your best friend's tired of hearing about it, your sister's tired of hearing about it, but maybe, that coworker that is friendly could
Yeah.
be a lightweight, accountability partner, right? Or your neighbor could be. Who
Mhm.
knows? But I like the idea of reaching out to get some sort of support and help.
Mhm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, so I know there's so much more that we could go through and talk through, Clara. But I think my major takeaway from this call is it is okay to pause. It's easy to say yes, but when no is hard, there's power in the pause. And sometimes that pause is hard, but that gives you the space to make choices, decisions, to realign to yourself. And that's powerful. And as we unlearn, maybe that's the word for this conversation, the theme word, as we unlearn the things that we were conditioned to accept, or the things that we were pushed to accept as norm,
Mhm.
that takes time, that takes effort, that takes practice. Man, I have so many takeaways, Clara. I was just supposed to come up with one, and I'm just like, wait, boom, 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 boom.
Well, I hope the audience present is having a similar experience, and I've seen a few of them doing some chats with
Yeah.
this awesome technology that is a little foreign to me. But I just wonder if the participants can like share a few of the takeaways that they're getting for themselves. That would be lovely.
Well,
Um,
I'll call out a few that are on here that I can see. Tessa is saying, our value has been framed and determined by output. And that goes to the comment that you were saying before, that you have to start with your values and let the output flow. So I thought that that was a huge like aha moment, because often
mhm,
it's the other way around. And we always look for external validation when you're framing everything around output, to let you know like what's your true north. And I appreciate the fact you made, Clara, about leaving corporate America. And you said that's the best decision I ever made, right? But to external eyes, people have their own trajectory or output or thoughts or goals for you. But what makes you happy? What keeps you grounded, right? And
right.
even going to your roots. I mean, for your name to mean clear light, like Yes, help others break through. That is your calling, and
Yeah,
that's really phenomenal. There was one other comment on here. Monica was saying that a value-driven living is a constant unlearning journey,
beautiful,
and that's
beautiful.
yeah. It looks like she agrees that perhaps unlearning should be the
The
word
theme.
of the call. Yeah, because it's constant. Let's just say you unlearn it in one situation, like you're good now, right? But then, so let's just say, you decide, hey, I am going to go skating. I'm going to have my time to recalibrate. But other people may want you to do things for them. They may want you to run errands. They may want you to be at the family event. They may want you to show up at the work happy hour. But if you know that that's your purpose and that's your grounding,
Yeah,
you have to not only stand 10 toes down in that decision today, but again, when you get
yeah,
the comments, the looks, like all
yeah,
that, it doesn't matter.
yeah.
What matters is
And
what you're saying.
going back to the corporate America and to whatever the audience experiences career at, right? I wanna be clear with something. Ambition is great. Ambition is energy. Ambition keeps you motivated. It keeps you kind of like focused, right? But the point is, ambition without alignment, ambition without purpose, it becomes very dangerous,
Yeah.
because that's when you start losing joy, because again you're seeking that external validation. That's when you start losing clarity. That's when whatever everybody else says, it's the go, and then your voice starts being quieting, very very quiet. That's when you lose self-trust, and
Yeah.
suddenly you're doubting yourself, you're missing goals, and everything gets affected. So really living with purpose and anchoring in that purpose, it will give ambition kind of like the next power move. So really the invitation that I think I want to give to people today is, find that sense of purpose and meaning, go back to your values, to what you value the most, go back to those things that give you that sense of aliveness and authenticity, and then let purpose be your anchor.
Mm,
And that purpose again is rooted in your origins. That's why it's good to understand your past. It's rooted in your values, and that's what will give you the stability that you need to deal with any storm that comes your way.
yeah, I like that. And Clara, earlier you gave the audience a challenge. You said, "Hey, I want you to actually write down your purpose and write it down now." Right. So, for those of you who are still hanging in with us, I want to. This is your second, your second tap on the shoulder to actually write down your purpose. Take a minute to put pen to paper, not on your phone. Put pen to paper. And once you write it down, say it out loud, because what you write down, when you get it from your mind to writing it down, it sits here in your heart, and
Yeah.
that is what really helps us move forward, right? Because often we have just so many thoughts, so many things. I'm going to get to it. I'm going to get to it. Do it now. Write it down.
Yeah. And leave it somewhere that you can look at every day.
Yeah. Yeah.
If it's your computer, your refrigerator, your mirror where you put your makeup on, or where you get, ready, just put it somewhere visibly so that it becomes part of your routine.
Yeah, yeah. And then share with others when you're comfortable. So that way you can build, and that goes to the last point that Tessa made, build resilience collectively. You can have accountability partner, or even sometimes it isn't even, sometimes it's a stranger that you meet at the coffee shop. Hey, how's your day? Actually, it's fabulous. I'm going to go skating today. I don't know where the roller rink is. I'm actually a little lost, but that's my plan. Like, it
Well,
starts
even
something little.
even think about it, how being rooted in purpose will better the way that you lead others,
Yeah.
the way that you collaborate with others, the way that you inspire your children. I mean, this is essential work that can really change your life and the lives of others.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. Well, Clara, if you're good, I'd like to go ahead and wrap our time together. We've talked a lot about purpose, about being aligned to your purpose, and I feel like we've given the audience not only three key questions, but also something that they can do today. Like, these things feel really practical. Is there a way that we can follow up with them, or give them something that they can keep up with this?
Yes, yes. I mean, I would love to share with those who register and those who are here. I have a worksheet that facilitates some of that reflection in terms of like honing back into the values and what matters. So I would love to share that with the audience. Absolutely, and
Yeah.
even offer a 45-minute no cost conversation to go through it and see if together we can hone in and have a little bit more clarity on that purpose for each of you.
Yeah, and I feel like, Clara, we should continue this conversation. Maybe we should do a part two, right? And we could talk about reclaiming your relationship with yourself, vows, voice, the woman you're becoming. Maybe we should do that soon. I like that idea.
I'm in.
You're
I'm,
in? Okay, I like
I'm in.
that. So if you're here, that means hopefully you follow both of us. Clara, is there anywhere else people can find you aside from on LinkedIn?
Yeah, you can find me on Instagram at Start Breaking Through. And here I'm giving me a big cheer because I'm now on TikTok. Go
Oh,
for me. And on TikTok, I you can find me as Clara. Oh my gosh, how can you find me on TikTok? I just forgot my own thing.
it's okay. We'll drop it in
It's
the. We can
Coach.
drop it in.
I got it. It's coach.clara.lucia on TikTok.
Got it. Got it. I'm proud of you, Clara. I'm very proud of you. I am I'm here on LinkedIn. I'm also on Instagram, which is Gearing Together. And then my email address is gearing, not my email address. My web address is gearingtogether.com. And we'll put a link in the event notes, just so that way you can stay in contact with us. You can get those journal prompts that Lucia mentioned, and you can find information for the next one. So I would encourage everyone, share this with someone who's rebuilding from the inside out, who needs a tap on the shoulder. That's what this is about. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you. Have a good rest of your day.